Happy Memorial Day, everybody. Hope everybody had a great day. I hope you had the chance to thank a vet or at least salute one somewhere, somehow. Today was a great day to remember the freedoms that we have here in this country because of the people, the men and women who've come before us and gave their lives for us to be able to have the freedoms that a lot of us get, right? The opportunity to say what we want to say when we want to say it, the chance to live free and not under a monarch or a king or any of those things, right? Like we don't have a dictator here. We have freedoms that afford us the ability to have an amazing life here in America, which is why so many people want to come to our country, right? Because they're afforded opportunities that they don't necessarily get at other places. And so I hope you had the opportunity to remember why and how we got the freedoms that we have today. Not saying that to be political or anything like that, but just wanted to throw that out there. But today, I posted this morning, like, what's the hardest thing you've ever had to do? And I don't know. It's crazy because most days that I put my little post or question or whatever I put out there, it creates a lot of traction. Maybe today it didn't because it was a holiday and people just weren't on social media or whatnot, but it didn't get a lot of feedback from people stating what their hardest things were. And I put the question in kind of the box above the meme or the picture. Did you complete it even though it was the hardest thing you've ever done? Or did you quit? Did it own you? You know what I mean? And that's kind of an interesting thing because there's lots of things that I think that I've done that have been hard. I talked yesterday about 75 hard and have never completed this as much as I've tried it. I always forget something. I think about getting clean off drugs. That wasn't real easy either. But like living for Jesus has been pretty hard too, because I'm a selfish, self-centered person and I want pleasures and I don't want to live sacrificially and I don't want to always be obedient to the call he has for my life. You know what I mean? And so I don't want to do his will. I want to do my will, right? Like these are all these things that I think about when it comes to serving Christ. I think about personal development and constantly being the best version of myself, right? Like how hard it is when I'm actively working on it, right? When I'm actively doing personal development like I have been the last few weeks, really assessing how I live, the things that I say, the things that I do, the effort that I put into being a man of my word. This actually has been pretty difficult to say because it's not easy ever looking at yourself and having to be honest about who and what you are, because it's really easy to make excuses for the things that I've done and the people that have come in my life and made me feel a particular way or did something to me and caused a trauma or, created drama in my life. And it's really easy to pawn off my reactions or my responses on them rather than accepting responsibility for my actions. And so it's been interesting as I start to get better, right? And start to look at me more and become more responsible for like what happens in the future and where am I headed and what am I trying to do? I was having a conversation with a friend earlier today, and one of the things that I told her, I said, right now, everything that I'm doing is meant to create a legacy for the future generations of my family. That's what this is about, right? I said, financial security. I don't want my granddaughter, my grandkids, my great-great-grandkids to never be able to go to college because their parents couldn't afford it. I don't want them not to be able to afford a home, right? I talked about my daughter-in-law and son buying a home, and I don't want any of my kids ever to be in a place where they can't create homes for their children and great-grandchildren and stuff like that. Like, I want to be able to leave something behind that that prepares them for life and to be able to tackle the world, especially as much as it seems to be unraveling right before our eyes. But I want them to be in a better place. And so if that means that I have to get better mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, to lead them, I want to do it. And it's my job to show them what this looks like, right? I tell people all the time, I said, when I die, the one thing I want them to say is that was the baddest MFer that's ever lived, right? And then the next thing I want them to say is everything he said, he did. I don't care if they go, he's a nice guy, he gave you the shirt off his back, I don't care about those things. What I want my family to be able to say at the end of time is he did everything that he said. There was nothing he couldn't do. That's what I want. That's what I desire. And so like that's the legacy I want to leave behind for the future generations of my family, because like I don't want my family to be liars or to be uncommitted to stuff or to not be able to follow through with the things they say, right? Because I want my family to know that your word is your bond. Your word is your reputation. Your word is everything. And without it, you have nothing, right? I tell the guys all the time that live in my sober living houses, if I can't trust what you say, if I can't trust you, I can't have you in my home. I don't care if you got money. I don't. If I can't trust you, I don't want you here, because there's too much at stake, right? There's way too much. And so like the principles that I want to live by, I want to teach my grandkids and my sons and my great grandkids, right? I think I'm young enough, hopefully healthy enough to be able to see them too. I was 35 when the first granddaughter was born. So my hope is I'll be young enough to be able to see great grandkids and have an influence on their life, right? To be able to speak into the people they get to become one day, you know? And so as I think back to the hardest things that I've ever had to do, I've never really been a quitter. I haven't really, I mean, you could say I'm a quitter. I quit cigarettes and I quit drugs. But outside of that, like, there's not a lot of things that I want to quit, right? Like, I'm very competitive and by nature. And so, like, I hate the feeling that people or things own me, right? I want to dominate everything. And so, like, I work really hard at accomplishing the things that seem to be very difficult for me, right? And so, like I said, living for Jesus is hard, and it is, right? People will say, no, it's easy. No, it's not. Like, when you really think about the things Christ says, right? Whoever follows me, deny himself and pick up his cross, right? And I'm like, you think about like what that means right there, to deny self, right? To deny me, the things that I think make me who I am. I need to reject them. I need to reject those things that I think I want, and I need to seek the will of the Father, right? Whatever, right? Jesus, when Jesus's mom and brothers came and the people in the home came to tell Jesus, your mom and your brother are outside, he didn't run out there to go see them. He didn't. What he did was he said, who's my mother and my brothers? And he looked at the guy who showed him that his family was there, and he said, these are my mother and my brothers, those who do the will of my Father. Not blood relationships, not any of that, but those who do the will of my Father. Am I willing to let me go and the things that I desire and want for me, for him and his will? Because sometimes those things conflict, right? They conflict, because I want the good, the white picket fence, the easy life. I want the 2.5, I want the American dream. And sometimes he calls us to suffering, right? Sometimes he calls us to hardship. Sometimes he calls us to scary places. Sometimes he calls us to live a life that most people do not want. And am I willing to go there for him? Am I willing to pick up my cross, right? My instrument of torture, right? My death device. Am I willing to pick up my cross? I don't know too many people who are signing up. Yay, yeah, put me in there. I'm ready to die. Most people, like I just said earlier, want to see the future generations come. I always say, if God wants to take me home, I'm ready, right? I'm ready. But like as I start thinking about the things that I'm doing and why I'm doing them, it puts an urgency even more in getting them prepared so that when God does call me home, I'm ready. That there's nothing to hold me back. That I've done the things that He wants me to do before I go. And then follow Him. Do the things that He did. He loved people. Do I love people? Or do I only love myself? Am I only doing this for me? And I told you, I'm doing this for my future generations. Like, I don't even care if I get to live the comfortable life today. I hardly ever see my wife realistically, right? Constantly working. Constantly out of the house trying to make things happen for us. And so it's like, when I think about what's the hardest thing I've ever had to do, right? The hardest thing I've ever had to do is be the best version of me that God created so that I can be a gift to the world. The gift that He created me to be. That's been the hardest thing, because not only does it require me to serve Him in all areas of my life, but it also requires me to do the right thing for the right reason, no matter what. No matter what. And that's to become the best version of me. Because when I'm the best version of me, I make everyone around me better. I do. Because as I become more mindful of who God is and the way He's working, I can teach that to the people around me. Whether it be my kids, whether it be the guys that I mentor, whether it be anyone. Sometimes it's just saying it to myself. And so like when I think about, do I give up? No, I'm not giving up. That's not in the cards. I really want to be the best version of me for Him, for the one, right? The other day I talked about the audience of one, right? And everything that I do it for the Lord, not for human masters. I don't do what I do for anyone but Jesus. And sometimes it even upsets my family. But I know when I serve God, everything else works the way it's supposed to. It does. If you haven't tried it, give it a try, I promise you. But I just wanted to let you know that God loves you, and so do I. And if nobody has told you they love you, know that I do, and so does God. I hope you have a great day, and God bless you.